Hello students, in this lecture we will take review of broadband communication system. So you have a oral exam for this subject as per university they have scheduled. So we will take review of half portion. So that is half portion of this broadband communication is related to optical fiber communication, and half portion is of a satellite communication. So in the practicals, three practicals are on the optical fiber communication, and next 5 to 6 practicals are on satellite communication. Okay, so first, we will take fiber cable construction or optical fiber cable construction. This optical fiber cable is made up of this core and cladding layers, and that core and cladding layer is surrounded by this buffer layer, and outer is a jacket is there. So core layer is a innermost layer. Through the core layer the light rays are traveling, so light rays are traveling through this core layer. Then next is a cladding layer. Core layer is covered by cladding layer, and this layer gives strength to the optical fiber. Jacket or protective layer. This is a jacket or protective layer. It provides strength to the optical fiber. So next, next is a key elements of optical fiber communication system. So this block diagram is very important, and this diagram shows main key elements of this optical fiber communication system, or all the elements are present in the OFC are shown here. So basically this optical fiber communication system consists of transmitter, then regenerator if required, regenerator or repeater, and receiver. So these three blocks are main blocks, and in between them different blocks are there. So this transmitter circuitry generally consists of light source with driver circuitry. Generally light source we are using are LED or laser. Okay, laser diode. So light emitting diode or laser, and then connectors are used to connect. Then optical splicers are used. Then optical couplers are also used. Then to when signal becomes weak, then to amplify that signal, regenerators are there, and regenerators consist of optical receiver, some electronics is there, and optical transmitter is also there. Then next is the optical amplifier to amplify the signals. Then to in the receiver main hurt is a photodetector. Generally photodetectors are pin avalanche photodetector or pin diode avalanche photodiodes are used, and then signal is amplified, and uh, we get the received signal. Okay, so these are the main key elements in the optical fiber communication. So in the link power budget, uplink means in the optical fiber communication link power budget, these components are again comes. So this diagram is very important. Then we will see basic properties of light. So first term is a reflection. So reflected waves are those waves that are neither transmitted nor absorbed but are reflected from surface of the medium. This is a incident ray, and that ray is reflected into the same medium is called as a reflected ray. When wave approaches the reflecting surface such as a mirror, the wave that strikes the surface is called incident wave, and the wave that bounces back is called as a reflected wave. So this is a reflected wave. The amount of incident energy that is reflected from surface depend on the nature of surface, angle at which the wave strikes the surface. Then next is a refraction. So when wave passes from one medium to another medium having different velocity of propagation, and a change in the direction of the wave will occur. This change in direction as the wave enters the second medium is called as a refraction. That is this is an incident ray, and these rays are transmitted into the other medium, uh, is called as a refraction. In reflection, wave is returned back or reflected back, but in refraction, wave is refracted from one medium to other medium. Okay. Then next term is a refractive indices or refractive index. So refractive index denoted by neta, which is a ratio of c by phi. C is the velocity of light, and phi c is the velocity of light in a vacuum, and phi is the velocity of light in a medium. So c by phi is a formula for refractive index or index of refraction denoted by neta. Then we will study ray theory transmission, that is basically Snell's law. When a ray is incident on the interface between two dielectrics of the different refractive indices, that is a glass or air, reflection and refraction occur. So as these terms are mentioned, this is a reflection, this is an incident wave, and which is reflected back is called as a reflection. And when it these rays are goes from one medium to another medium is called as a refraction. Then this angle of incidence is a theta 1, and angle of refraction is a theta 2. Angle of refraction is theta 2, are related to each other, and the refractive indices of the dielectrics are by Snell's law of refraction is given by n1 sine theta 1 is equal to n2 sine theta 2. So this is called as Snell's law. n1 sine theta 1 is equal to n2 sine theta 2, where n1 and n2 are refractive indices of two media. Then we will study critical angle. So critical angle, in the class we have also defined this critical angle. The angle at which total internal reflection occurs is called as a critical angle of incidence. Not a critical angle, but critical angle of incidence it is called as a. At any angle of incidence theta 1 greater than the critical angle, light is totally reflected back to the glass medium. So this theta 1 is greater than the critical angle, then light ray is totally reflected back into the same medium is called as a total internal reflection. It is called as when light rays is reflected back into the same medium, then it is called as a total internal reflection. But angle at which, this is important, for n1 is greater than n2, the angle of refraction theta 2 is always greater than the angle of incidence theta 1. When the angle of refraction theta 2 is 90 degree, so this angle of refraction is 90 degree, and rays travels parallel or travels to the boundary of these two media, then this angle is called as a critical angle. The refracted ray emerges parallel to the interface between the media, then this angle is called as a theta c. Angle at which the refraction angle theta 2 becomes 90 degree and rays emerges parallel to the boundary between two media is called as a critical angle. And this theta c, critical angle or sine of theta c is equal to neta 2 by neta 1, and theta c is equal to sine inverse of en2 means neta 2 by neta 1. So in problem solving this formula is required. Find critical angle for 2 marks in objective questions, also ask or also in oral exam. What is critical angle? This type of definition and formula you have to when you have to ask, then you have to answer. Then critical angle in another way, so consider this angle, this is a light source. So observe the incident angle, that is this is 20 degree, 30 degree. Okay, so this is a 40 degree. Okay, and critical angle at which refracted ray becomes makes 90 degree angle here, then it is this angle is called as a critical angle, or this angle is called as a critical angle when this refraction angle is a 90 degree. A certain angle, the refracted ray follows the path exactly along the surface of the dense medium. When the angle of refraction is at 90 degree, incident angle is called as a critical angle. Okay, so when angle of refraction is 90 degree, then incident angle is, this angle is called as a critical angle. So this is a critical angle when refracted ray makes 90 degree angle here and emerges parallel to boundary between two surfaces. Then next is a total internal reflection. The angle of incidence when theta 1 is greater than theta c, that is a greater than the critical angle, the light ray is totally reflected back into the incidence higher the refractive index medium. This is known as a total internal reflection. that is when theta 1 is greater than theta c, this light rays is reflected back to the same medium, and this is called as a total internal reflection. And this phenomena is very important in optical fiber communication for ray transmission. That is when ray are transmitted, they reflected into the same medium, again reflected into same medium, and light ray are traveler like this fashion. Okay, so this total internal reflection phenomena is important in the optical fiber communication. So in this figure, this total reflection phenomena is shown if the incident ray is increased beyond the critical angle. So observe, this is a critical angle, and when incident ray is increased beyond the critical angle, that is a, observe here, 60 plus 60 degree, first previous angle is a 60 degree, that is increase, that is okay, which is up to 120 degree, then these rays are reflected into the same medium. Okay, so instead it is reflected back inside the medium. This is called as a total internal reflection phenomena. So this figure also shows this is a total internal reflection. Ray theory of transmission. In this, acceptance angle is a term. The acceptance angle of an optical fiber is defined as the maximum angle of a ray hitting the fiber core, which allows the incident light to be guided by the core. Okay, the sign of that acceptance angle is called as the numerical aperture, and it is essentially determined by refractive index contrast between core and cladding of the fiber, assuming that the incident beam comes from air or vacuum. Ray theory of transmission. In that, this is a numerical aperture. So first experiment in our syllabus is to find the numerical aperture. What is the numerical aperture? The numerical aperture is a measurement of the ability of an optical fiber to capture light. Ability of an optical fiber to capture light. So in oral exam, if you ask what is numerical aperture, so ability of an optical fiber to capture light is called as a numerical aperture, and it is given by formula Na is equal to under root of neta 1 square minus neta 2 square. So this formula is also important in exam. Also, this formula will be asked. Then step index and graded index fiber. So according to index or ray transmission path, these are the two types, that is step index and graded index fiber. So step index fiber path, this is a multimode step index fiber path. So multimode step index fiber ray path are different, so that rays arrive at different times. So these rays arrive at different times. But in graded index fiber, ray paths are different, but so are the velocities along the path, so that the ray arrive at the same time. So these rays arrive at the same time in graded index fiber, and they are this graded index fiber has a parabolic index profile. So in your oral exam, which or in graded index fiber, which profile is there? That is a parabolic index profile is there in this graded index fiber, and we'll take difference also in the next slides. So this slide is again gives the detailed explanation. That is this is a step index fiber. This is a multimode step index fiber. This is a ray path of the multimode step index fiber, and this is a multimode graded index fiber, which follows the parabolic index profile. So this is a multimode step index path. In oral exam, if you have asked to draw the ray path of a multimode step index fiber, this is a ray path of the multimode step index fiber, and this is a ray path of the multimode graded index fiber, that is a parabolic index profile. So difference between single mode and multimode fiber. In single mode fiber, only one mode can propagate through the fiber. Name indicates. Multimode fiber. In multimode fiber, it allows a large number of paths or modes for light rays traveling through it. It has smaller core diameter, and the difference between the refractive index of the core and cladding is very small. In multimode, it has a large core diameter. Okay, and refractive index difference is larger than the single mode fiber. Advantage: no dispersion. Here dispersion is more due to degradation of a signal owing to the multimode. Then since The information transmission capacity is inversely proportional to the dispersion. The fiber can carry information to longer distances, but here it can carry information for shorter distances. Again, disadvantages: launching of light can and connecting opto fiber is a difficult. Here launching of light and also connecting opto fiber is a easy. Installation is difficult. Here installation cost is low, and also here installation cost is a high. Okay, so this is a difference. If you ask in a give difference between single mode and multi-mode fiber, you have to give answer. Step index and grid index fiber. So in step index fiber, first point is important: the refractive index of core is uniform throughout and undergoes an abrupt change at the core cladding boundary. So this is a major difference. Refractive index of core is uniform. Here, refractive index of core is made vary, that is gradually, such that it is maximum at the center of the core. So that is an ingredient index fiber. This is a parabolic index profile in this. So refractive index is made vary. Here refractive index is different, here difference, and maximum at this level. The diameter of a core is about 50 to 200 micrometer. Here diameter of core is about 50 micrometer. Here ray path propagation is a zigzag in manner. So ray path is a just like zigzag in manner. Okay, like this. But here ray path is a helical or parabolic. So okay, so this is a ray path in a uh, gradient index fiber. Here in step index attenuation is more, but here attenuation is less. This fiber has a lower bandwidth, it has a higher bandwidth. The light ray propagation is in the form of a meridional ray, and it passes through the fiber axis. Here light propagation is in the form of skew rays, and it will not cross the fiber axis. So this is a major difference between step index and gradient index fiber. Then another additional difference, this first difference we have taken. Then here additional difference is a pulse distortion is present. Here pulse distortion is minimum. It can be single mode or multi-mode. It is only multi-mode. It can be manufactured easily. Manufacturing is not easy. It has a higher numerical aperture, it has a lower numerical aperture. Attenuation is higher, attenuation is lower. It offers lower bandwidth, it offers higher bandwidth. Reflection losses are present, here reflection losses are absent. So next topic in this is attenuation. So in the first topic is find the numerical aperture. So define numerical aperture and what is the formula for numerical aperture. And next is the second experiment is on the attenuation, that is a propagation loss, to find the propagation loss and bending loss in optical fiber. So this term is comes in that experiments we are revising this term attenuation. So signal attenuation, which within an optical fiber is usually expressed in the logarithmic unit of a decibel. The decibel, which is used for comparing two power levels, may be defined for a particular optical wavelength as the ratio of output optical power P0 from fiber to the input optical power Pi. So attenuation in optical fibers. So this is a formula we have taken in lectures also. Attenuation alpha dB per kilometer is equal to minus of 10 by L. L is the length of fiber log to the base 10 P out upon P in. Okay, so we'll skip here. So factors causing the distortion in optical fibers. So what are the different factors responsible for the distortion? If such type of a question is asked, then this tree diagram you have to recall, that is a distortion in optical fiber. Mainly dispersion and attenuation is present. So dispersion, in that there are different types of dispersion, that is a intermodal dispersion, means intramodal dispersion. Then next is the intermodal dispersion, and next is the polarization mode dispersion. So what is dispersion? Dispersion term, that is a broadening of pulse takes place. Then next is the attenuation. In this attenuation there is a bending loss, absorption loss, and scattering loss. So this bending loss is of macro bending or micro bending. So your second experiment is on this bending loss and also propagation loss. So this is a macro bending and micro bending. So in oral exam, what are different types of bending loss? That is a macro and micro. So micro bends in optical fibers. So how to reduce this bending effect? That is, we can use the comprehensive jacket over the optical fiber, and also in the packaging, if we take the care, then this type of a bending losses we can reduce. Also in manufacturing techniques, we will take the care of proper material, then this bending losses also reduce. Then absorption, that is a intrinsic absorption and extrinsic absorption loss is there. Then scattering loss. So different types of scattering are there. In the next slide we will take what are different types of scatterings. That is a linear scattering and non-linear scattering. Linear scattering is also divided into Rayleigh scattering and Mie scattering. Then non-linear scattering, stimulated Brillouin scattering and Raman scattering is there. So these different types of losses occurs due to the structural inhomogeneity in the optical fiber construction. Also fiber material, silica material is generally preferred, but if the material mixing is not proper, due to this different losses also occur. Then the next is the basics of in the next third experiment is on the uh, uh, transmission of analog oblique digital signal through the optical fiber. So if you transmit if you want to transmit analog or digital signal through optical fiber, you can easily transmit. So that experiment procedure is same as a experimental procedure, experiment second procedure. Okay, so only you will have to connect the or take the sinusoidal signal and connect that signal to means we have to connect take signal from the function generator, and we have to transmit that signal through source LED, and again that signal is received at the detector, photo detector, filter, and we will get the original signal. Such type of experiment is there. And for that signal transmission means for transmission of light, or through that we have to transmit the signal. Basically there are LED source is used or laser source is used. So how these LED and laser operate, and this LED and laser operates on basic principle of this absorption, spontaneous emission, and stimulated emission. So these basic terms are important, and if you are asked what is a spontaneous emission and what is stimulated emission, you have to answer. So first, what is the absorption of light? That is the electrons in a ground state level E1. It is also called as energy lower energy level or ground energy level. When these electrons on that these electrons photon of energy, light energy falls, then these electrons goes from lower energy to higher energy level. That is a higher energy level is called as E2, also called as excitation energy level. This is called as absorption. That is, electron goes from a lower energy level to higher energy level by absorbing the photon. Then these electrons not stay here more time. These electrons again falls back from higher energy level to lower energy level, and by emitting the light in terms of a photon, that is a light is emitted. So this is a basic principle of a LED, and this process is called as a spontaneous emission. When these electrons falls from higher energy level to lower energy level and emits light, and this process is called as spontaneous emission. And next is a stimulated emission. In word indicates stimulation. That is, here more pumping is provided. That is what is meant by pumping. That is providing more number of electrons in this excited state. That is when large number of external electrons are provided here, then these electrons while falling, then photon of more energy is reduced. That is here two photons are released and more light is released. This process is called as a stimulated emission, and basically LED operates on this spontaneous emission process, and laser operates on this stimulated emission process. So what is difference between spontaneous emission and stimulated emission? Here, transition of an electron from the excited state to the ground state happens as a result of a natural tendency of the electron without the action of the external agent. Here, no external agent is required, but here external agent is required. That is a pumping is required. We can say that process is also called as a population inversion. That is occurred in a stimulated emission. Population inversion is required. That is, stimulated emission of radiation is the process whereby photons are used to generate other photons that have exact phase and the wavelength as that of a parent photon. This phenomena is, as previously mentioned, found in LEDs and fluorescent tubes, and this phenomena is generally used in a laser. There is no population inversion. Here population inversion is achieved by various pumping techniques as mentioned to get amplification, giving the laser its name light amplification by stimulated emission of a radiation. If a long form of a laser is asked, long form is a light amplification by stimulated emission of a radiation. So here no external stimuli is required. Here stimulated emission is caused by external stimuli. That is, the external electrons are provided in the excited state or higher energy level, and therefore external stimuli is required. So these previous figures are explained in the previous slide. So this is a difference between spontaneous emission and stimulated emission. So again, another difference, it is a natural spontaneous process. It is not a natural process. It does not require external photon as a stimulus to initiate the process. It requires external photon as a stimulus to start the process. Light output is unpolarized and not coherent. Light output is polarized and coherent. Intensity of light is less. Highly intense light is there. Okay, light is not monochromatic. Light is a monochromatic here. It is control process, and it can be controlled as externally. So different types of LED structures are generally used. First is a surface emitter LED. This is a structure of surface emitter LED. So this optical fiber is a well each, that is a circular each well in that optical fiber is inserted, and double heterojunction layer is formed here. Also SiO2 isolation, metallization contact, and heat sink is provided. This is called as surface emitter LED. Okay, then next is a edge emitter LED. That is along the edge light is emitted. Other, that is a light guiding layers are there. Then metallization for electrical contact are also there, and these side surfaces are polished so that light rays are travel in a zigzag motion, and we will get light rays from this side or this point. So this is called as a edge emitter LED. So surface emitter LED and edge emitter LED difference. It in yes, LED easy to fabricate, difficult to fabricate, easy to mount to and handle, difficult to mount and handle, require less critical tolerance, need critical tolerance. It is less reliable, it is highly reliable, low system performance, high system performance, less modulation bandwidth. Here better modulation bandwidth. Couple less optical power into low Na fiber. Here couple more optical power into low Na fiber. Light is emitted from the surface of active layer. Light is emitted from edge of the active layer. Wider spectral width, and here narrow spectral width. So LED and laser. Another difference can be asked in exam. Give difference between LED and laser. So long form, light emitting diode. Here light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. LED is small in size. These are the larger in size, longer life. Here also longer life is there. So some common terms are also there. Generation of photon by spontaneous emission, generation of photon by stimulated emission. So as previously mentioned, LEDs produce a divergent and incoherent light beam. Laser produces monochromatic and coherent light beam. Types of LEDs: surface emitter, edge emitter, and types of laser are semiconductor laser or gallium arsenide laser. Their response time is fast, response time is higher. Okay, here required drive current is 50 to 100 milliampere, and here is a 5 to 40 milliampere. Feedback is not required in LED. Proper feedback is essential in laser to be treated as an optical. So OFC detectors. So generally in detectors, pin detector and avalanche photodetector diodes are used. So give difference between pin diode and avalanche photodiode. So these terms are important, or in exam explain avalanche photodiode operating principle. That is a uh, or give difference between both, that is pin diode and APD. So pin does not have high intensity electric field region. APD has a high intensity electric field region. Photocurrent IP generated is less compared to APD. Here photocurrent IP generated is more compared to pin. Responsivity of a pin is limited. Here responsivity of APD can have much larger value. They exhibit lower noise levels. They exhibit high noise levels. Response time of a pin is half that of APD. Response time of APD is almost double than the pin. So mostly avalanche photodiodes are preferred in optical fiber communication. That is, there is a carrier multiplication in avalanche photodiode. So in lecture we have taken details of that. That is, an optical detector is a device that converts light signals into the electrical signal, which can then be amplified and processed. The photodetector is an essential and element of any fiber optic system, as the optical fiber or the light source. Photodetectors can detect the performance of the fiber optic communication link. So advantages of optical fiber communication. So what are the advantages? It has a greater bandwidth and faster speed. Optical fibers are cheap. Long continuous miles of optical fiber cable can maybe be cheaper than the equivalent length of copper wire. They are thinner and lightweighted. Higher carrying capacity. They have a higher carrying capacity. Less signal degradation. Light signals. Then long lifespan. They can also be have this optical fiber cable have higher security uh, data for data transmission. Also speed is fast. Okay, so n number of application of this optical fiber communication. Okay, so in the half portion we have covered up the basic of this optical fiber communication. So three experiments are on the optical fiber communication, and next 5 to 6 experiments are on the satellite communication. So satellite communication experiments are also easy. So in that, that is the first experiment is on the tone transmission. That is by selecting uplink frequency and downlink frequency same, you can transmit the signal. And in the next experiments, you can in the next experiments, uh, you have to transmit audio signal by connecting mic. Your voice is transmitted, that is through satellite transponder. Your voice is transmitted. The next experiment is both the audio, video, and voice, also tone signals are also transmitted. So all these signals are transmitted simultaneously or parallelly. You can transmit and receive the signal. So these are the experiments. Experiments are easy. And also satellite communication part, you can advise, that is what is the ascending node, what is descending node, then what is the prograde, what is the retrograde. So these terms are in satellite communication. There are different types of satellite orbits: LEO, GEO, MEO, low Earth orbit, geostationary orbit. What is the height of geostationary orbit? 36,000 kilometers. Okay. So different types of LEO, GEO, MEO. Then satellite launching process is there. So for satellite launching, different vehicles are used. So what are different types of vehicles used in the satellite launching? Okay. Then next is in that satellite communication part, we have taken in lockdown period few lectures. We have seen uh, almost all the chapters or 100% syllabus we have covered. So you have to just can see those videos also. So those also helpful. That is in next chapters we have taken loop angle determination, also satellite stabilization. That is three-axis stabilization and spin stabilization methods we have taken. Then next is a TT and C. What is the long form of TT and C? Telemetry, tracking, and command. So this block diagram of a telemetry, tracking, and command we have taken. That is a telemetry data, tracking data, and those satellite communication system consist of n number of sensors are there. Heat sensor, then n number metal sensor, so fuel tank level sensors. So these sensors gives provides data to the satellite, and feedback mechanism is there, and signals are transmitted to earth station, and by command signal you can control all these parameters in this satellite communication. Okay, so telemetry, tracking, command we have taken, telemetry, tracking, and command. Then next we have also taken the uh, uh, we have also taken the importance, that is a satellite uplink design and downlink design procedure we have taken. So satellite uplink and downlink is uh, important, and you can easily explain all these satellite uplink downlink design, satellite carrier to noise ratio, satellite G by T ratio we have taken. So in detail we have taken. You have to revise, keep confidence in exam, so that you can call all these definitions or terms. So I will stop here, and all the best. Okay, thanks.